Witamy Was na dzisiejszym webinarze.
Are we live right now or are we not?
Yeah, so we can start.
Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to our webinar about will AI help you to deliver great software. I'm delighted to see many of us joining today. My name is Mateusz. I'm tech evangelist in Brainhub, and I will have the pleasure to hosting today's session. Today we'll be discussing many aspects of AI, focusing particularly on AI overview, AI impact to products, to software delivery, its current state and the future state, and the very question whether AI is the key to software delivery excellence. Now I'd like to introduce our special guests, our Brainhub's AI experts, Dariusz Luber and Lukasz Pluszczewski. Hello, guys. I want this webinar to be interactive, so I encourage anyone to ask questions through the session. There is a chat where you can type your questions. We'll try to answer them during our webinar or at the end of Q&A session at the end. So, okay, let's move on to the main part of our session. So where we will start with the topic of AI. And I think that we can start with the fundamental question. Guys, what do you consider as an AI? Lukasz, can you start?
Absolutely. Yeah, so AI seems to be extremely wide topic. So, well, in general, AI is basically anything that mimics human intelligence in performing tasks, solving problems, understanding language, and so on. Obviously, there is absolutely no way that we can cover in any significant way a topic like that in 1 hour. So we are going to focus on a part of AI, specifically machine learning, and even more specifically, LLMs, large language models, and vector embeddings. And we are going to talk about those in the context of web development, how we can use LLMs, vector embeddings in the process of software development and in the software that we provide our clients with itself.
Yeah, I would consider AI based on I don't know, like 2 years. What is happening, like that new LLMs that it's becoming like new internet. Before, like internet era, we were looking for information in the books and in the libraries. Later we got like internet. It is something common for us to have easy access to knowledge. And currently AI is a new tool. Mostly I'm talking about the LLMs and how we can communicate with the models. Help us to find information. So this is like a new access to information, which can speed up how we work, how we learn.
And you've mentioned that it's quite a new tool, but some people consider that sometimes that is technology that augments our possibilities, everything we know right now. So is it brand new technology or it's rather augmentation of existing tools?
I think that it's partly augmentation of existing tools. It's extending some functionalities. AI with us is for a long time. The machine learning was used for many years. But the problem was that it was not so easy to communicate with those models. Currently, having those LLM models, we can really easily communicate using our natural language. So just we are having new tools how to communicate with different models. And we had things like for the coding, like this auto completion, some auto suggestions, and now it's becoming more kind of intelligent because it can learn based on the context more in more sophisticated way than those tools earlier.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And when it comes to LLMs in software development, in web development, I think there are few aspects of AI and LLMs and vector databases that is actually something completely new. That it's just not new tool that you can use to solve problems that you already had, and you had some solutions to those, and you just have a new tool. It's actually something brand new. There was no way to do a chatbot. Well, we had chatbots, but pretty limited, that understood maybe a few phrases. Now you can actually create a chatbot that allows your users to basically have a conversation with their application. That's something absolutely new. But for many features that we use AI for, it's actually another tool in our tool belt. And I think understanding that is quite important. We are going to talk more about some risks and limitations of AI and hype. But I think that distinction between well, it's basically magic that you can throw everything at, and it just works, and actually just a tool that you can add to your tool belt. And if that tool belt is already empty, then it may be not a good idea to just use AI for everything. It probably won't solve all your problems.
Considering problems, let's move to business perspective. From business standpoint, what are the most tangible ways AI is helping delivering products today? Just products today.
Yeah, so we have actually some experience with different features that we can use AI for. Obviously, the list of things that you can do with AI is, well, it's maybe not infinite, but for practical reasons, it is infinite. So there is obviously no way that we can comprehensively present to you now list of all things that you can do with AI. But we would like to talk about a few of them. And I think first that comes to my mind that is kind of in the middle between something completely new and something that is just a new tool, and you kind of have to understand how we used to do things, and now you can use AI for that. And it's document understanding and extracting structured data from documents. So we used to use OCR to parse documents and to extract some data from at least somewhat structured documents, like invoices, for example. But with AI, you can actually do much more, much easier. And in some cases, it's actually like magic. You can check out our YouTube channel. There's a presentation about a tool that we've implemented with LLMs that help us with invoice processing. And we actually was able to use multimodal LLM to basically improve our process of parsing and validating invoices so much that it was actually quite revolutionary, what we were able to do. And that's thanks to multimodal LLMs that can actually understand documents, that can understand the visual cues inside documents, the geometric structure of text inside them. That's actually something that is extremely hard or maybe impossible to do with traditional OCR and, for example, simple LLM without that multimodality. So that's something that I think is really quite amazing. Document understanding and multimodal LLMs that basically replace or augment OCR.
Yeah, I think currently we need to consider a few things that currently most hype is about the LLMs, but LLMs is the only the part of the machine learning. And thanks to the LLMs, thanks to possibility that we can really put there a lot of information, and it can kind of understand that context and things that we are asking about, can allow us to build knowledge base, our company knowledge base that can speed up even consumer support. it can help us our internal workflows. So those tools can help in not only like user-facing products, but also internal things. From like user perspective or product perspective, this is like those search tools that we were using for many years. But currently having possibility to ask in human way, also giving bigger context or give proper indexes, wages on this vector databases, it can bring better results. This is only the one of the part that those models can bring value.
Yeah, and search is actually a great example of that tool belt analogy. That search is something that we've been doing for decades, and if you don't have a fairly comprehensive understanding of what those traditional search methods do, how they work, and how you can use them, then relying on semantic search using vector embeddings and the vector database may work in some rare cases, but in general, you will need all those elements of that tool belt of many different tools to actually achieve a good performance. And semantic search definitely can help. And what you, Derek, said, it's actually amazing how you can augment any traditional limited search with LLM that can actually search semantically and then be able to read a large portion of your search results and then extract that one information that you actually need. You can actually do amazing things. But there is a big risk in relying on semantic search. Semantic search is not magic, and it will require you to do a lot of experiments. There are some tools that basically can do all of that for you. There are like software as a service tools that you can use, like Search and others that basically have that semantic search built in. But in many cases, you will still need to tweak those search algorithms so that you get a good performance. So there is a risk here that you may think that it will just work after throwing stuff at it. Unfortunately, it won't. Although it can be really helpful.
Yeah. Also one thing that about putting things to LLMs to the context. This is a really high risk about the security. Currently, we also need to think about where we are sending those data, those prompts, even like those knowledge base. Also, we need to consider what kind of models we are using. We are using external models like open AI models, or we are using local models. There can be scenarios where you fine-tuned like using like external model, but this external model was updated with the newer version, newer knowledge base. For example, because for example, OpenAI is refreshing it. All those models, I don't know, one per quarter or one per half year. It can start to behave a little differently. So you need to always look at it. So you also need to figure out what kind of model you want to use. So yeah, there's a lot of things to analyze before using it. But yeah, it can help a lot and speed up how we develop and bring that value to those products.
Yeah, and I also wanted to add things that you would need to consider when figuring out whether the given feature is easy or hard to do, or how much time do you need. Is for example, in terms of search and vector search, semantic search, one of the most important things is how complex your data is. And it actually applies to many different features related to AI and LLMs. including the vector embeddings. So if you have a very simple search, you want your users to search through movie titles, then you don't really need semantic search for that, probably. But if you want to add that semantic aspect of that, so that users don't need to exactly remember what phrase was in the title, that's very simple case. And if you experiment with that, you will find that it works perfectly good, and it works from the beginning. It just works. Everything is fine. But obviously, the real implementations of semantic search are more complex. If you have data that you need to chunk, you need to think about how to split your texts into chunks. You need to think about whether you have some, I don't know, tables, lists in your data. If you create a knowledge base about your company, for example, and you want your LLM to understand the context of your company, and then you have some tables that you need to somehow split into chunks and then vectorize so that you can actually find rows in the table, for example. There are many aspects of complexity that make semantic search really, really hard to do. And you need to understand that before before you basically start estimating how much time you would need to implement features using AI. And the search is one of the examples where complexity of the data is a huge factor. So if you have a very simple case, then it's probably going to be fine. But then you need more and more experimentation, more knowledge about possibly alternatives, non-AI based alternatives, as I said, in your tool belt, so that you can figure it out how to implement the feature.
Yeah, besides the search, I would also mention summarizing the documents. This is some documents or meeting notes, everything that we need, based on which we need to make some decision or plan some work. Currently, more and more tools like Google Meet or Zoom, Loom, and so on gives that functionality that it's preparing the summarization of your meetings, but you can extend it with better context. For example, what kind of action items you need to do after the call, so you can bring better value and speed up your work with it. So it's really helpful from like business perspective, or even
that's
like
actually
planning work.
Yeah, that's actually amazing feature that I don't think I've seen actually implemented with extracting schedules from meeting notes or just from meeting transcript. I'm not sure if I've seen it actually implemented.
I saw that because this is something that we are using like in the Loom, for example, when we are have recordings of our meetings. It can summarize and can even set up the chapters and different things. Google Meet also have this functionality if you enable like Gemini. It works differently, sometimes better, sometimes worse. But yeah, it gives you like a brief view what you were talking about or the team was talking about. For example, if you are late for the meeting, it can give you the summarization what was talking about earlier. So yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, and it actually now comes to my mind the issue with implementations of actually many features related to AI. And it's kind of related to complexity as well. So you've said that it sometimes works okay, sometimes it doesn't do a really good job. And I think it's kind of related to an issue that we had when implementing chatbots. Basically, chatbot is another, basically a revolutionary technology that is enabled by LLMs. And obviously, chatbot is not that exciting, but chatbot that can do actions and can access to a knowledge base. These are features that are actually extremely useful. And when building some proof of concepts of chatbots that can do different actions, I think the maybe not so obvious when you start working on it difference between what is actually doable and pretty easy and what is really, really hard is how obvious the triggers for actions are. So it came to my mind because how obvious it is that for LLM that this part of the conversation mentions a schedule that they need to react to. That's not always obvious for them. That's not always obvious for a person who would read meeting notes, probably. And it's very similar with chatbots. If you have a chatbot that needs to react in a certain way. For example, we've been building a proof of concept of a chatbot that basically gathers information about workers' well-being, and that chatbot was able to report abuse. And it was really, really hard to figure out how to build a prompt or how to fine-tune that chatbot so that it actually knows what's the trigger for that abuse report, when it's enough abuse to report, what is actually abuse, and when it should happen during the conversation. So this is something that I think is pretty important, and you need some intuition about it when you think about whether a certain feature, for example, proposed by a client is actually doable. Those triggers for a chatbot to actually do the action that you need it to do. And extraction of data from natural language is kind of similar. What is actually the trigger? What is that schedule that you needed to extract? Whether mentioning a date is enough, or maybe saying that please do something at a certain date, that's a trigger, or you need maybe more. That's something that you need to figure out, and always the experimentation and having a lot of example cases so that you can actually test whether your solution works is crucial for figuring out whether you will achieve performance that you need and reliability that you need. Especially in cases like this with a chatbot, you need a very high reliability, right? That the chatbot that was able to report abuse, that's probably not the best use of LLMs because of that kind of unpredictability of it. You don't really know whether it will do a good job, and you can't be sure even with a lot of testing. So that's probably something that will influence your decisions when it comes to whether when to use AI in your features.
Okay, you said a lot about limitations of AI. Do you see what is the biggest risk for businesses in adopting AI in their products? What do you consider as a great risk?
Well, I actually think when it comes to the development itself, maybe less from a business perspective, but there's also a risk for a business not having like a comprehensive understanding of the problem that we're trying to solve. And that's something that we've encountered when implementing various AI-based features, that we have, for example, a limited set of examples that we tested our solution on. That was a huge problem because it's kind of a hard work to, I don't know, if you have a system that basically is a chatbot and it needs to do various actions in various moments, then you need really a lot of examples of chats that you need to verify if your system works on them. And that's quite a lot of work, obviously, but it also forces you to understand your business context better. You want to understand how your users are going to use the feature that you're writing, and focusing on just a few and figuring out how to solve those, you will certainly encounter users that will abuse your system to its limits, and it will probably fail sooner or later. So having at least dozens or maybe even hundreds of examples of test scenarios that you can test your solutions against, test your prompts against, I think that's one of the most important things when it comes to AI-based features.
Yeah, I would add to that from like security perspective that currently we have like standardized ways how we secure like REST APIs, GraphQLs, and so on, the standard options. But for LLMs, it's many times harder to define the rules which user has access to what part of the data. It's not standardized. There is no like best practices. There are some best practices that there are suggestions how to do that, but it is still evolving. Like Lukasz mentioned, users will try to do those prompt injections to get those data. They can ask in different way that you don't expect they will ask, and they can get information they shouldn't. So proper separation of the context for different users, this is really problematic that need to be solved in the future by some good practices, by some maybe even solutions in those models, or you can use different models for different users for different roles. Another thing is that if you put not enough context, there is like problem with the not enough and too much, too big context. If you put this too small context, it can start to hallucinate and give you wrong answers. So you need to always validate those information that you are retrieving from AIs.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to your previous point, Darek, that there is currently no 100% bulletproof way of preventing prompt injection, jailbreaking. There are no models that are immune to that. So basically, the good practice is to assume that it can be done, and it will be done, at probably assuming that it will be done fairly simply by a user with quite average knowledge about prompt injection and prompt engineering. So like safeguarding or guarding your data behind LLM is absolutely not a good idea. LLM will not protect your data in any way.
Yeah, fully agree with that. Another risk is I think I was mentioning that we are sending those information to, for example, external LLMs, external providers. We don't know what they are doing with that. There are some rules like GDPR and other, but in many cases we don't know, and even like people who were training those models don't know how the LLM was analyzing this, and what are the rules that he decided to answer in this way. This is something what is they try to achieve better results, like with this new model O1 that was released last week, that it gives additional question to itself to bring better results, and also give you the opportunity to see how the reasoning was done. So this is something what possibly will be common in future LLMs, but in like those current small models, you don't know, and it's even hard to analyze why it happened, why some reasoning was done.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that basically business perspective on AI features and risks related to AI. I think in general, overestimating what AI can do is quite common, and what we think when we hear AI is often data processing, and with LLM proliferation, it seems like people think that LLM will allow them to basically do a data processing magically just by throwing data at LLMs. Obviously, LLM is absolutely not suitable for data processing. It's suitable for understanding natural language and for generating natural language. So it seems that quite often people think that maybe with GPT, they can create a trading app that will actually earn some money for them. It doesn't work like that. The data processing is still a matter of data scientists and not necessarily a web developer, for example. So that's probably a trap that in some cases people fall into.
Yeah, I think this is really tempting to put all data that you have to AI and ask for some results. It can look really nice, but it can be not repetitive. It can there can be wrong wages for those data. So in most cases, those are like tabular data. So there are better tools, better approaches to work with it. But LLMs will give you the interface how to communicate with those different tools in more easily way. So you will be able to talk with those tools. And I think this is the opportunity that how we will be using current tools that we have, the current products, but by just have a conversation. And this is something new. This is something what is evolving really rapidly. But also, we need to consider that if we will be scaling these applications, we will scaling those things. We need to also scale those LLMs, the infrastructure behind that. So it will be coming with bigger costs. So we also need to look, for example, maybe on small language models. There can be, and this is something like thing that is happening right now, that more specialized small language models that you can even run on your local machine, on your own your own cloud, and it doesn't require so many resources, so you will be able to plan your costs, and it can be more profitable. But you need to experiment maybe at the beginning with bigger models to see is it working properly, and then try with different models. And yeah, so this is like some process to figure out which models we need to use to not have a big receipt from I don't know, OpenAI or different element providers.
Okay, you've mentioned a lot about business perspective, about limitations, risks, like security or business overestimating AI capabilities. And that's business perspective. What about developers' perspective? Where AI actually help developers in software delivery?
I think this is something like our auto completion thing. This is something what is like our just tool. We will be using a lot to speed up how we do things that are repetitive, that are boring. So we can focus on the business perspective, on the logic or more advanced things. So I think it's just becoming something common to use. Also, from I don't know, from my perspective, like software architect, it helps to prepare some proof of concepts. Because, for example, you can, thanks to the AI, the LLM, that it's focus on coding, it can help you to bring really fast the POC to show it, but it's not the perfect version to be as a product. So this is another risk that if like business will see, oh, this looks nice, it works behind the scenes, maybe that code won't be the best. It can be hard to maintain. Of course, it's these tools are becoming better and better. So we will see what the future bring. But for now, it's like extending the auto completion for me. This is something that bring me possibility to deliver or to check different tools, different approaches to solve business problems with our programming language, so we can validate it and decide which way we want to choose.
Lukasz,
your perspective?
For me, when it comes to tools that I use during development, as Darek said, the extension of autocomplete is absolute game changer. The GitHub Copilot was a game changer, but now I moved on to using SuperMaven, which is really fast and really accurate, and it's actually a pleasure to work with it. It for some reason it actually understands what I want to write vast majority of cases. So I would strongly suggest if you're not using any autocomplete tool like Copilot or SuperMaven, try it out. I would say that for me it's worth the money absolutely many times over. It saves me a ton of time. And that's probably the most important tool that I use. I don't like tools that require me to explain what I want to do. That's why the autocomplete is perfect. I don't want to spend time explaining. I would rather implement it myself, probably faster. So that's the point basically of that autocomplete. Although I do use ChatGPT or chats that are embedded in the IDE for software development and for writing code as well. But in most cases, I use them to write tests, and that's another thing that I strongly recommend to try if you haven't already. GPT is, and not only GPT, basically even Llama is extremely good at writing tests. Basically, you can write most of your tests, those easiest, most obvious cases you can cover with LLM. With custom GPT, you can just create a GPT to write tests with your code style and in the framework that you're using, and it saves a ton of time, and it's actually surprisingly accurate in writing tests for simple functions as well as complex tests as well.
Yeah, about saving the time, I would add also that I really love to talk with ChatGPT, and the functionality that is like on the Android. Currently, unfortunately, in Europe, you don't have possibility to talk with ChatGPT on Windows. But using like this conversation mode, it really helps me to, for example, prepare ADRs. I can explain that what kind of problem we are solving, or what obstacles there were, how we want to achieve to resolve it, and based on those different thoughts that I'm just putting there, and I also using my own ChatGPT modified that I'm when I explained it that it needs to behave as a solution architect with proper context, with proper formats of those documents. And it really helps me to summarize, to prepare the drafts for those ADRs. Of course, those are the drafts, and of course, I'm not putting the any data that could be leaked. So it's more generic. So later, when I have this draft, of course, I need to adjust it, add some I don't know graphs, some diagrams, and so on. But it really speeds up the work. For example, like I was driving to the office, I was discussing with it, and when I arrived to the office, I just copied this draft, added some details, and yeah, it was ready. So it's really nice. So I'm looking forward to extending the functionality about the conversation with AI.
Yeah, and when it comes to AI tools that help us in software delivery, you can actually talk about content generation. I have like love-hate relationship with content generation. It kind of broke the internet because basically everything that you can find in Google is AI generated now. And I really don't like how, for example, GPT writes content. I don't really like the style, and I try my best to, if I need to write something with AI, I try to steer it towards the style that I like. But if you look in for example, on Dev2, on my blog posts, they're not really great written because I'm not really good at writing blog posts, but I just refuse to use ChatGPT to improve those because I really don't like the style of that. But you can't deny that it's really, really useful when you write summaries, even very technical ones. That's basically kind of a having a person that is good at writing content and actually understanding the technology that you're writing about. So any like technical documentation that you have to draft that is targeted at not necessarily very technical people, it can actually do a great job. So in sales, that's probably a really good tool to basically talk about technologies that you want to suggest to your client. That's really great to use ChatGPT to explain in simple terms why that given technology is a good choice. So in all those cases, unfortunately, AI is good at writing content. Although,
Yeah, I also just remind that, for example, I'm using another tool that helps me, for example, to really speed up like planning how I want to build some infrastructure. For example, Erase.io, I can describe what things are important for me, what cloud provider, or maybe I want to just Kubernetes use. It can prepare some drafts of the infrastructure. Later, I can adjust it or by manually doing this, or even adding additional prompts. So this is another thing that it's really speed ups how we work and how we can deliver or even show some ideas or verify different ideas. Because, for example, if we have in our mind, we have two or three options how we want to do it, and we want to prepare all those documentations to present. It will take a lot of time. Currently, it's really faster. But of course, you need to always look at what was generated. You need to always analyze, verify this, and to use all those tools, you need to have that knowledge, because you cannot fully trust what was generated. So yeah, it won't replace us, but it's enhancing our capabilities. So if you have knowledge, you have skills, it will enhance your skills. It can help you to be better programmer, better architect, better DevOps, and so on. But you need to learn, and if there's something that you don't know, you need to still learn to know what is happening behind the scene.
Okay, so the next question, quite the opposite, where AI can't actually help you, where it is not that useful as we wished for.
From developer perspective, I think the problem mostly is currently with debugging. It can suggest you some maybe code optimization, but a lot of time it have a problem with understanding full context of the whole application. Of course, if you, for example, using a monorepo, for example, using the GitHub Copilot, you have this add workspace that it's trying to analyze that context and suggest you proper things. But still, debugging, checking things, what's wrong, it's not working as it should. So I think this is the currently the biggest problem from like where those tools are not handling those things as we want.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And actually, LLMs have that problem that they want to be helpful. Well, want is maybe not the correct word here, but they're trained to be helpful. So whenever you ask LLM to find issues with code or text, it will find some. It will fix them, and you can ask again, and it will find some more, and then sometimes change something back to where it was. So with all tools, it's kind of similar issue with all tools that do a code review. So I've been experimenting with some tools recently that can do code review. So to create a LLM based, basically a code review assistant or whatever you want to call it, you first need a very good understanding of what code review is and what you expect. And it's probably the same with any debugging, anything that involves finding issues with the code, because it will just find a lot of things that you just don't care about. I've recently had that. I've done some experiment and I found a bug in my code in a pretty large file. So I've pasted only the small function that the bug was in to ChatGPT, and it actually found immediately the issue that I've also found. So it noticed it. I didn't need to steer it towards the solution. It actually immediately saw what the problem would be. But when I pasted the whole file, it just found a huge number of issues that were not issues. I could just talk with it for hours, but it haven't noticed that one bug at all. So obviously, I will not paste that one line that has a bug, because that means that I already know that that it's wrong. So that's an issue with both code review and debugging with AI. It can understand a lot, and it seems to be able to find all issues that you need it to. But maybe we just need a model that is trained differently, that is not necessarily that helpful, that it doesn't want to be as helpful. That's the issue with debugging with LLMs.
Yeah, I think for the debugging, those systems need to be to have bigger context, because mostly those will be working based on the code that they see, but it should be extended like with the logs from the application. So you need to have access to different streams of the data. So maybe it will be better, because, for example, there are tools for the devils. So there is like Datadog Bits AI that use really nice natural language processing for to diagnose the issues in the infrastructure, to look at the logs. So partly it can help with the debugging, for example, like from the DevOps perspective about the infrastructure, but you need to write proper logs. If you don't deliver those things, still, this is like always for normal developer. You don't know where to look, what is happening. You need to add those logs to be able to find it. And this is something what is a like problem also for those tools. So maybe when they will be adding the logs, they will be running the script, your code, and see those logs. Maybe it will be able to help. But if you have just the code, based on the code, based on the only behavior, sorry, not behavior, because they want running the code. So based on only things that is in the code, sometimes it's hard to find what is the issue. For example, today was debugging the problem with the files on the S3. The code was okay. The problem was on the S3. The naming convention was wrong. It won't find that. It will be looking at the code and it will be suggesting maybe some, like Lukasz mentioned, some improvements that it's thinking that it's a bug, but the problem can lay in different place.
Yeah, but despite this limitation, or probably there are more than one, these limitations of models themselves, I think there is a lot of room for improvement when it comes to tooling itself, of managing the LLMs, of creating autonomous agents that can actually look into the code. There is a lot of room for improvement when it comes to, for example, code search and the IntelliSense for LLMs, so that they can understand the context. We have some agents that try to write code, that try to debug code, that try to fix issues. They're working kind of okay in some cases. In many cases, they're just you're basically spending more time than you would doing the work yourself. But I think there is a lot you can do with current models without any significant improvement to models themselves. Well, that's kind of my speculation, but I think that we see how models are doing when it comes to code understanding, and they're doing quite well. They can write reasonable code. So I think the main limitation is that we need to communicate the whole project context to them, and maybe solve issues like too much helpfulness from them, so that they won't hallucinate non-existent problems in the code. So I'm really excited when it comes to link to autonomous agents that can write codes that there are some tries to do that. For example, I think Cursor is an IDE that has this new feature that's called, I think it's Composer, which is kind of a chatbot that can do changes in multiple files at once, which is a huge step forward. So I think there are great things that are happening. I don't see anything especially useful now that can actually save us time when it comes to writing more complex code. But I'm excited.
And speaking about context debugging, I have one more question. Can AI tools help developers with dealing with legacy code or tech debt? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that to some extent, yes, we will have exactly the same problem, right? So it's hard to make LLM to understand your whole code base. It's hard for it to see other parts of the code that relates to whatever you're trying to understand. But in some cases, you can actually copy paste a huge legacy file with thousands of lines of code, and it can actually help you understand it. But I think it's still pretty limited in what it can do. But I'm pretty sure that we are going to have much better tools very soon. It's evolving really, really fast, and there are some great minds that figure out how to make that context available to LLM so that it can actually help us out. So I'm positive that it will get much better very soon.
Yeah, currently I'm thinking in which places currently with current tooling it could help. I'm thinking mostly about like maintaining the packages, for example. We have those renovates. We have the Chatbot that can prepare the pull request, and if like passing all the tests, it's automated merged. But there are scenarios that are some breaking changes, and based on the documentation, based on those information that it has context of our code, maybe it could help us to speed up to implement those breaking changes, suggest what we should change. Currently, I don't saw that kind of tooling, but if I got like the error in the CI that I see there is a breaking change and what has failed, maybe in that part I will give you the context. We changed the package. This is not working. It can suggest me how I should maybe fix it. So I won't be looking on the Stack Overflow or to the documentation, but those tools will be doing this for me and giving me hints how to work with it. So this is something what I think currently is feasible to achieve. But think about the quality of the code, about maybe possible dependencies in some modules. I'm not sure currently if it will have proper context without the human. Maybe if we write what problem we have, in which files, maybe it can help, but it won't be solving currently for us those problems.
Yeah, it's really frustrating for me that we still don't have like AI-based code mod. We have those for years that can actually do some work when migrating to a new version of a library, and we still don't have AI-based version of that can do that automatically. Well, obviously, people much wiser than me tried and most likely failed many times. So that's probably not that simple. But still, I expected there to be something like that already. Hopefully, we will see that in the future.
Yeah, I'm currently thinking about. I'm waiting for more integration. The tools, AI tools that will be integrating our software that we are using for managing our project, like Jira, with our code. Because thanks to that, we have like integration with the Jira that we know that this is a pull request for this ticket and so on. So it can learn what we were doing for some functionalities, and we can have reports for the bugs. It can possibly figure out in which files this problem could be. It can even sometimes point, okay, so based on the knowledge that I have, I don't know, from 3 years that project exists, it was done in this place, because there can be a lot of functionalities that are abandoned, and even people that were working on the functionality don't work for the company. So it could point where we could work on it, or even we have like those tickets that we point that tech debt. So we can rise those tickets, and we are building that kind of logs. So we know that we want to fix it, and we even writing what we want to do. So we are explaining what we want to achieve. So it could also suggest how to do that. So this is something maybe because it will have the context of the code, context of course of the business and our perspective. So yeah, there are so opportunities for that. So maybe if someone is listening to us and have possibility to write it, please write it and send us to.
Exactly. I think that this is something that we're really missing because it perfectly intersects developer perspective and business perspective, and tool that knows both contexts. I think it will be a game changer, basically. And I'm not sure whether there is something currently on the market. I guess that there's no such tool right now, but maybe in the future. And speaking about the future, what do you think? What can we be excited for in the future, in the next years, about AI?
About generally talking, I think this is something what is currently happening, but it will involve that we will change how we communicate with applications, with tools. We will be just talking. I really love this analogy to Iron Man and the Jarvis, because we can tell what we want to achieve, what are our acceptance criteria, and we can ask the AI to test different variants. Show me all cons and pros of each variant, and I will be choosing which cons are okay for me to choose, and based on it, I will be making the decisions based on this analysis. So I think this gonna be involving to have specialized small models, small machine learning models, not specifically language models that are like for the physics, for I don't know, for coding. Coding is language, so yeah. But for physics, for bio, for different perspective, and through the LLM we will be contacting with those, and LLM will be giving the proper instructions to those models, and thanks to that we will have faster possible solutions. So this is something what I'm looking forward. But yeah, we will see what future brings.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. As I said, I don't like any AI tools that require me to write a lengthy description what I want to achieve. So having that conversational way of communicating with it is actually something that I'm really excited about, and also more models that are trained specifically for a given task, language models trained specifically for a given task, kind of like GPT-01 is trained specifically to solving multi-step problems, and including coding, of course. But when it comes to coding, I think we can have more models, language models that are specifically trained, not fine-tuned, but specifically trained to solve coding problems. And for example, to have that large context of multiple files and be able to implement features. I'm really excited to see anything like that. And probably the O1 is kind of a first step in this journey towards having actually autonomous AI coder.
Yeah, I'm looking also forward to really those small language models, to how the community of open wage models will grow. So we will have really a lot of models to choose to work with, and we will be able to use, I don't know, tens of small models that can be even run on our, I don't know, smartphone, computer, so offline, and it will be available for us. So we will be able to, like in this O1 model, or that will be discussing between those models to find the best solutions. So yeah, this is something what I'm also looking forward.
Okay, guys, so we can jump into summarization, I guess. And the very last question: do you consider AI as a necessary ingredient in software delivery excellence? What is your opinion?
I would say that, like using IDE currently for developers, I don't know if it's a Vim because we have Vim fanatics, but still, this is the IDE. Um, uh, those tools help us to deliver things. So yeah, this is the tool. If it can help us to bring things faster, hopefully better, then yeah, this is something what we should use for software delivery. But of course, with having this grain of salt, that we need to be sure what kind of tools we are using, what kind of data we are putting to those tools, because there can be a lot of tools that have unknown behaviors and maybe they are not working offline. So we don't know what will happen with the code that we are creating, because this is also the IP. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that as the saying goes, AI will not replace developers, but developers who use AI will replace those that don't. Uh, and I think it may not be necessary now, or it may seem that it's not necessary now to use AI in our products. It certainly doesn't seem like it's necessary. Using AI in the software delivery process may not be seemingly needed, but I think it will definitely be, and it's already making software development much easier for some people, much faster. But there are still a lot of risks related to that. So there are a lot of other factors that influence the so-called the excellence in software delivery. So there are some additional risks, like you can have developers that are very unexperienced, being able to actually implement features with AI, but there are some additional risks related to that. So you still need CI/CD pipelines, you still need good test coverage, you still need a code review process, you still need a lot of those elements of excellence in software delivery, regardless of whether you use AI or not. And maybe in some cases, especially because you use AI, you still need those safeguards to ensure that very high quality of your software and security of your software. But AI can be, and I think it definitely will be, a necessary ingredient in that. But as I said in the beginning, it's just one of the tools in your toolbox. If your toolbox is empty, AI will not help you.
Exactly. It is one of the tools that it seems it will be becoming more and more useful and will help us a lot in software delivery excellence for sure. Okay, I think that we can just go to Q&A session. There are no questions so far, but if you have any questions, please type them in the chat, and we'll try to answer them in a moment. And I have one more question to you guys, the very last one, the same one, but how do you see AI reshaping excellence in software delivery in the next 10 years? What we can expect and what we can imagine, actually, because it's rather betting or guessing than actually foreseeing.
10 years is just
Too much.
a long time. So for me, I have absolutely no idea how the next 10 years will look like. But within next 5 years, I definitely think that various AI tools will help improve the quality and security of software, just like many other non-AI based tools do. So we have tools that help us test software. We have tools that help us analyze the code, analyze the quality of the code, the complexity of the code, the readability of the code. So AI definitely is going to be another tool that I think and I hope will greatly improve the experience of actually ensuring that the code is of high quality. So I think when it comes to the software delivery itself, that's kind of what I hope for. And for me personally, I think that we will see, and I hope that we will see code assistants that are actually helpful as much as a person sitting beside you would. That's what I'm waiting for, and that's well, let's say I try to have at least a little bit of my own work put into that as much as I'm able to. So hopefully it will be the reality in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I fully agree with those co-pilots, those pair programming with AIs. But I think also how we will be delivering the software will change. We will be mostly focusing on the business with the communication with the business, understanding the business, what they want to achieve. So there we will be, yeah, there will be like multiple proxy layers between the business and the code. So from business, we are gonna be a proxy to AI that we will be discussing how we want to achieve, and we will be cooperate with it, and it will be generating part of the code, some drafts that we can work on. About the security, fully agree. This is something what is very important now. It can, I think, maybe even faster with proper training. Those models find some patterns that are happening, like I don't know, for in the infrastructure, to, for example, block some traffic. This is there are some tools that help with that, but as we know, this is like always, if there is a better security, there is always temptation to break those securities. So there will be new security breaches, and to find those faster, we need to have possibly some help. But there will be also AI that will be try to destroy those securities. So yeah, always with new tools there are also risks. So yeah. But yeah, definitely it will change how we work, how we cooperate with clients, how we write the code. But yeah, I think this is gonna be, I hope it's gonna be like pair programming, instead of like write something and just leave it, because based on current state, a lot of time this code will be not maintainable. It will be hard to maintain, and maybe it can block like future and future features, or future changing how product should work, and we need to rewrite again. But maybe rewriting with AI will be faster. I don't know. This is something what we will see.
Yeah, sometimes there is a question about the state of actually developers in next few years, whether they will become something more like a business consultant and basically trying to understand business goals and translating into just prompts and or something like that. There are many questions, but for sure we can start learning AI. And the question to you guys, where actually you can start learning working with AI or LLMs, for example.
Yeah, so I always say that you best learn when doing things that you actually want to do. So I think the best way to start is if you have an idea of a tool that you would like to be somewhere out there and you can find it, then just try writing it, and you will learn a lot while trying to solve your actual real life problem, not some kind of hello world AI based app, but actual app that solves your problem. I think that's great. That's how I learn. I just build things based on LLMs, and most of the time they don't work. Some of them do, and then I know much more without having to force myself to just go through a fat book or something like that, or blog posts, or hour-long YouTube video, and so on. Sometimes I do, but if I have that goal of actually solving my own problem, writing an app that actually I need, that's perfect way to start. And I think don't over focus on a particular part of that AI space. So you don't need to train your own models. You don't need to fine tune your own models. You don't even need to write software that communicates with some kind of OpenAI API or something like that. Maybe just use the tool that actually has some AI underneath. That's fine too. And you can tweak it and you can try to find its limitations. It's like, I've mentioned Meili Search, which uses vector database underneath. You will probably find its limitations, and then you can move forward to maybe writing something low level, and you will learn along the way. So don't be overwhelmed by the amount of knowledge that you would need to, for example, train your own model. You don't need to do that. It may come later.
Yeah, about the learning by doing things, this is the best way. I really love Olama, so you can really run your on your machine really small models, so you don't need to have really high end machine, and and you don't need to pay like to OpenAI for tokens and so on. So you can play with it, see what are what are the cons and pros of using it. I always say that the best, like, I don't know, maybe not the best, but for me it was like writing my second brain, and because I have a lot of notes, and I was given the context to this local machine, local LLM, to those notes, and based on those I was trying to figure out how I should vectorize those things to find answers to my questions. First of all, about, I don't know, Kubernetes is something what I was playing around. Of course, like Lukasz mentioned, many times it won't be working as it should. There will be many problems. But as someone said, fail fast, fail always, fail forward. So you need to do those mistakes better during your own projects than on client projects. So just play with it.
Yeah, and maybe a little bit more practical advice from us. If you want to build something with LLMs, actually a documentation, OpenAI documentation is pretty good place to start. Then you can Google the terms used there and go from there. But I think actually they did a pretty good job explaining basics of how to use their APIs and what to look for when writing software using their API. I think that's a great place to start.
Okay, guys, I think that's where we can stop. Thank you very much for today conversation about will AI help you deliver great software. We talked a lot about current state of AI, especially in product and software delivery perspectives, about software delivery excellence and whether AI is the key, and basically about what's the future. And thank you very much for today's conversation. Thank you and see you.
Yeah, thank you. It was very nice to be here.
Thanks. Bye.